Today is 19-year-old Jesse Ryan's first day in prison. He was jailed for 6 months, but if he's lucky, he'll be out in 3. There are few like him here. He is surrounded by aggressive mugs. But at least they put him in the same cell with another guy. A kid who huddled in a corner when he saw his neighbor. Jesse constantly meets the gaze of a bearded prisoner, the authority Brandon Lynch. Jesse's cellmate was groped and dragged to a secluded place by 3 creepy convicts. One day Jesse passed by Brandon playing chess and decided to get smart by checkmating him in 3 moves. "So, why are you staring at me? What do you like about me?" Jesse has read about the bandit and knows his story. Then Jesse's neighbor ran by, pulling up his pants. At night, the poor guy began to sharpen his toothbrush. In the dining room, he waits for another attack. But Jesse understands that the guy has no chance, so he provoked a fight with him, visited and appreciated his ingenuity. Jesse was thrown alone under the scorching sun. When he came out, Brandon advised him to mind his own business, alluding to the trio who kicked in his neighbor's yard. The next morning, Jesse was woken up by strange noises. Blood was gushing from his neighbor's throat. He couldn't take the bullying anymore. For Jesse, this is a real tragedy, because the bearded man hinted that he would be their new toy. Now it was his turn to sharpen. Jesse, looking around, headed for the shower. 3 convicts are chasing him, but Brandon and his gang blocked their way and ordered them to get out of here. The authority convinces the kid that a toothbrush will not help him, unlike him. But for this, Jesse will help him escape later. Brandon's been in jail for 20 years, and after he helps Jesse, it's all 25. The guy, of course, has time to think, but he doesn't really have any options. At the first opportunity, the rapist dragged Jesse into the toilet, laid her on the floor, and pulled off her pants. But Brandon and his men rescued the guy again. They beat all 3 of them, and the leader was thrown from the 2nd floor head down, sending him to the next world. 6 months later, Jesse was released. He immediately came to the crime boss Sam, with whom Brenton played chess by correspondence. Jesse was handed a suitcase and settled in a luxury apartment on the beach. The suitcase contained several passports for Brandon, clothes, and a gun. A girl named Tasha came to Jesse and handed over a phone and several bundles of cash from Sam. Then Jesse was sent to some patchy guy who lives in a trailer. He has a whole arsenal of assault rifles, a machine gun, and even an RPG stored in his garage. Private Wilson allowed Jesse to shoot at a local firing range and sold him the necessary guns. One day the phone rang. Sam said that tomorrow he had to fly somewhere by helicopter. Jesse paid for a sightseeing flight and pointed an MP5 at the pilot already in the sky. He ordered the man to turn off the radio and fly at certain coordinates. At the same time, Brandon in prison took out a prepared sharpener and handed it to Sterl. They took the warden hostage and forced the guards to open the door to the courtyard. Now the fugitives need to wait for the helicopter, and Jesse did not let them down. When the guards ran out into the yard, the guy opened fire on them and allowed Brandon to run to the helicopter. He was already covering for Sterl and Merv. All 3 managed to escape. In a vacant lot, Jesse had previously left a recently purchased wheelbarrow. The pilot was tied up and left at the helicopter. The radio reports that 2 bank robbers and a rapist who attacked a schoolgirl escaped from prison. Brandon and Sterla didn't know this, so the authority pulled the fat man out of the car and brutally beat him. Now the mayor is on his own. I shouldn't have lied. They won't do business with people like him. There were Brandon's things in the suitcase. He shaved and, together with his accomplices, came to Sam. He wants the robber to immediately get to work and steal gold bars right from the foundry. At the party, Jesse keeps an eye on Tasha. He's trying to please a girl. Josh, Sam's nephew, came over. They had a conflict, and Josh pushed Jesse into the pool. It turned out that he could not swim, and Tasha had to save him. After the party, she took a new friend for a ride in the car and brought him to the restaurant. She convinces the guy that she's not sleeping with the boss. Sam found her through an ad and promised that after working for him, Tasha would get an Australian passport. But she was deceived. It's a pity she can't escape. The previous girl was burned after such an attempt. In the morning, Jesse was waiting for a serious conversation. If they had something with the girl, they would have already been fed a shark. The right guys don't jump off 4 chicks either. If Jesse continues to think like a member, he will be kicked out of the team. Brandon demanded that they find a new place to live, firm which it would be easier to escape if the cops descended. Together with Jesse, they arrived at the quarry where the robbery will take place. The guy will need to crawl into a certain ventilation room, take the workers at gunpoint, and open the main entrance to the others. It is important that no one presses the alarm button at the same time. Now they need to find a driver. The bandits arrived at the race track, where Brandon met with an old acquaintance, Chris. The whole team is assembled. Brandon developed a plan and distributed the roles. Jesse and George got angry again. They had to be separated. In the club where Tasha works, visitors began to molest her. Jesse stood up for the girl. Despite the danger, they agreed to meet after work on the beach. Tasha went topless into the water, luring the sea and her young friend. So the girl decided to teach him to swim. Jesse said that as a child, his alcoholic father pushed him off the boat, and he almost died. After such a sad story, Tasha could only give herself to the guy right in the water. In the morning, the girl gave Jesse an amulet for good luck. The guy plans that after the robbery, he will get his share, and they will escape together with Tasha. Jesse was almost too late. Sterla admits that she trusts Brandon unconditionally. He is a cool specialist, besides brings good luck, because he saved him from 3 life sentences. The robbers disguised themselves as workers. After showing papers and passes, they entered the territory of the quarry. It's all in Jesse's hands now. While he is crawling through the ventilation, Brandon has disabled the surveillance camera. Jesse stopped and removed the grate over the room where gold is smelted. Now they need to wait for the working day. Sam had anticipated that the newcomer would offer Tasha to run away with him. She's lying to the boss that she didn't sleep with the kid. It's too dangerous. Morning came. Brandon instructs the team to shoot the workers in the legs if they start being heroic. The robbers entered the video surveillance point and knocked out the guard. Brandon took all the discs with recordings and took the barrels out of the bag. Now Jesse's exit. He pulled the monkey mask over his head and jumped down. The guy intimidated the hard workers and forced them to open the door. The robbers went inside and forced several workers to start smelting gold. Josh was supposed to be near the furnace, but he was left to keep an eye on the hostages. The idiot got nervous and shot one man in the leg. Brandon broke his nose with the butt of his rifle and applied a tourniquet to the wounded man. The police arrived. All the ingots were put in a bag. The robbers surrounded themselves with a crowd of workers and went outside. Brandon opened fire on the police cars. Chris burst in here at speed, and the bandits got into a wheelbarrow. Leaving, Brandon continued to shoot. The cops also opened fire. They managed to wound Sterl in the stomach. A chase began for the robbers. Brandon fired at the cops' cars until he ran out of bullets. Sterla is bleeding and crying. He asks to transfer his share to his wife. The bandit died in Jesse's arms. With a feint, Chris got rid of the tail, and the bandits were able to hide in a safe place. They arrived at the meeting place with Sam. Plamyash immediately complained about Brandon, although it was his actions that led to problems. Sam took the ingots to cut them into pieces. In the evening, he will give the robber his share. Brandon doused the car with gasoline and set it on fire with his friend Erla. The wheelbarrow flew off a cliff and fell into a pond. As agreed, Tasha packed her things. But instead of Jesse, Sam's man came to her. He saw the suitcase, took off the belt, and hit Tasha in the face with it. She tried to run away, but the man began to throw her all over the apartment. He began to strangle the girl with a wire, but got hit on the head with an iron. There is no way back, and Tash has gone on the run. She sent a text message and warned the robbers that Sam had set them up. They need to run. And so it is. The house was surrounded by special forces from all sides. Why did you do that, Sam? I don't know who I'm talking to. Well, yes, you're damn right. Brandon had a stash of money in the cemetery. He's going to get his share by force. Tasha wandered around the city until nightfall, until she received a text message from Jesse. He took a train ticket for her. That's where they met. The trio arrived in Melbourne. There Sam is going to exchange gold for money. They found and paid a person who knows where the exchange will take place. The national channel showed pictures of Brandon and Jesse as the main suspects in the recent robbery. The recidivist threw a package at Tasha and ordered him to send it to Earl's wife. She refused, and Brandon slapped her in the face. Jesse pounced on him, but the bandit easily broke the kid. Tasha left. Jesse wanted to run after her, but Brandon wouldn't let him. I've seen too many good guys in jail because of birds like that. Tasha bought some food and went back to the apartment. She was followed by a hitman that Sam hired. She heard Brandon telling Jesse to give her some dough and let her go on all fours. The girl ran away again. This time, Jesse caught up with her, and the hired killer took advantage of the confusion and easily entered the apartment. Tasha doesn't believe that the robber will give Jesse the money. He's a convenient kid for him at his side, on whom he will hang all the shit later. Jesse just saw in him the father he missed so much. Meanwhile, the cunning Brandon told Killer Wayne about the gold and offered to get much more than he would be paid for his murder. After a little thought, Jesse decided to return to Brandon. He pointed a gun at him, and then gave this gun to his young friend. They arrived at the place where the exchange of gold for money will take place. Sam assigned this task to his nephew. Suddenly, Wayne appeared in his car and crashed into the bandits' cars at speed. They decided that it was a setup and shot each other. Josh was dragged out of the car and sat on a chair. He wouldn't admit where the gold was hidden, so Brandon picked up a hammer. However, Wayne wanted to put Josh in the refrigerator. And so they did. "Where's my gold, Josh? I can't straighten my legs." Josh still doesn't give up, but the gun at his head still convinced him to tell where the suitcases with gold are hidden. Now they need to get out of the country. But first, we need to finish one thing. Brandon came to Sam and shot him. The robbers stopped at a motel and hid their suitcases under the bed. Jesse asked the concierge to deliver a letter to another room. Together with Brandon, they went to buy a yacht from a local peasant to sail it from Australia. The recidivist is paranoid. He demands that the kid is always in his sight, even when he takes a shower. Brandon didn't even sleep a wink that night. At dawn, they loaded the groceries onto the yacht. When Jesse came on deck, he saw Brandon pointing the gun at him again. He offers the boy to agree to half of the bullion, that is, 1/12 of their production. But Jesse says Brandon doesn't have any gold anymore. And indeed, he found some pieces of iron in the suitcase. The phone rang. Tasha spoke to him on the other end. In the letter, Jesse left her a room key. The girl followed them all the time and settled in the same motel. She snuck into the room and took the bullion. And if Brandon wants half of it, he's going to let Jesse live and do as they say. But the bandit attacked Jesse and threw him into the water. He forgot that the guy can't swim and saved him without thinking. Did it ever occur to you that she might have run away with the gold? She didn't run away. You're a fucking jerk. Jesse said he would call and let me know where Brandon could find his half of the money. Tom had no choice but to let the guy go. Tasha was waiting for him on the shore. Brandon went into local laundromat and waited for his clothes to be washed. Then he noticed that it had become too quiet. Brandon was recognized by a woman at the entrance and reported to the police. He went out into the street with his hands up. He was surrounded by special forces from all sides and laid face down on the asphalt. Jesse hid Brandon's share in a secret place in the grave, which they only knew about together, and forwarded a letter with instructions to the accomplice. Although it is unlikely that Brandon will ever be able to use his millions.